Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. I was going to do a tactical breakdown, but I think we can actually merge it into everything that's going on this morning. I want to talk about where we are now. I thought there were some really good points after the game from Gary Neville and Roy Keane, and I think Gary Neville's had a bit of criticism over the last while. And, you know, one of the reasons I respect him is he's a legend of the club, but I think he actually does have the ability to be a fantastic journalist, a pundit. And I thought yesterday some of the things he said about Manchester United, about the future. What's the future plan? Where's the youth development? Where's the future plan now with the team that he picked yesterday? There's still loads of problems, even winning the game yesterday. So we'll talk about that. Roy Keane calling out some of the players as well. It's interesting. So I want to talk about where we are now, because the win yesterday, I do want to put some respect on Ollie and on Spurs. I think we've been a bit reactionary, probably myself as well. We'll talk about that. Also want to talk about the club as well. But I do feel that you know, it's the players did well yesterday. The players did well. I can't really complain about any performance yesterday. I think there's a bigger picture, of course there is. And of course, we're hearing that Spurs might go for Conte now. So, you know, typical with United, they don't make a decision. There's people available. Poch, they don't make a decision. Poch goes and gets a job. And then United think, shit, we should have made a decision. We can't get Poch. We can't get Conte. You know, typical. I put it back onto the club again in relation to that. So, yeah, I mean, the first thing I want to say is that, look, the players responded yesterday. I expected a response, and they did. And I think the players this morning can wake up and be above criticism based on the performance yesterday. And I think if they play like that, with that attitude every game, we will be better. You know, it's as simple as that. You know, Cristiano Ronaldo rescues Solskjaer, lucky Solskjaer. I mean, I think it's true. The goal that made it 1-0 from Ronaldo was just world class. Not many people can do that. The assist was world class as well. 2-0, game over, Rashford comes on and finishes it. So I thought that the players did well yesterday. I mean, I disagree with Ollie saying that Scott McTominay was man of the match by a mile. I think people said, well, that's just good man management. He's building Scotty's confidence. What's he doing to Sancho's confidence? What's he doing to Van de Beek's? I'm not listening to Ollie's man management myth anymore. I think he's great with the favourites, but there's massive problems in that team. I've had people saying to me, you need to be at the game to appreciate McTominay. I don't need to be at the bloody game. You do see things at the match that you don't see on the TV, and I thought McTominay played well, but what annoys me about the whole, and McTominay symbolises this, is that when he has a good game, he's suddenly Roy Keane, and then the 9 other games where he plays crap, he's the worst player in the world. So, and I think that's the problem with United fans in general at the moment, that they've become so flip-flop. It's ridiculous. And I thought McTominay played well yesterday, but quite clearly, Ronaldo, Cavani, Bruno, Wan-Bissaka, Varane were on a different level. So, you know, he wasn't Miles man of the match at all. He played very well, but those players were on a different level, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Sean Turner says, papering over the cracks. Spurs are awful. Their best player isn't playing for them. Time for a change. Play like that against City. Be another 5-0, says Sean. Look, I want to really get into a discussion this morning about where we are. We've got the Sunday night show tonight, which I think will be fantastic. We'll get guests on and we'll be interactive. But I want to talk to you about where we are, because ultimately, I wake up this morning, and I said it last night, and I'll explain the situation where I am at. I've had people, and I knew this would happen. This is why I watched the film last night, Shot Caller, very good film on Netflix. Check it out. Because I didn't want to be on social media much last night, because I knew what was going to happen. Even though most of us have clarified our position that even if we beat Spurs, even if we beat Atalanta, even if we beat Man City, I will still remain wanting to change the manager, because the standards of this football club are on the floor. And even if Ollie does well now, my belief is that all we're going to do is finish 4th and win nothing. And we've done that for the last 2 years, basically. 2nd, 3rd, win nothing. I'm tired of that. I think the standards are too low, and I want to see a change. And I think the club should change. But I put it on the club. I don't put it on Ollie. He can't sack himself. It seems to me we beat Spurs, and suddenly people that were very quiet, or in fact were actually saying sack the manager, are now attacking those people who want Ollie to be sacked, calling them fake plastic fans again. And I'm like, I just can't be arsed with this. You know, if you go into Tesco today and you don't like blueberries and you see somebody in the fruit aisle buying a packet of blueberries, do you hound them round the shop to the checkout going, look at this prat buying blueberries. What? Blueberries? Look at him. He's paying for blueberries. He's going to eat those blueberries. Oh my God. Let me get it on Twitter. Oh my God. Look at this picture. Idiot likes blueberries. Oh my God. I can't believe it. And I'm like, I'm totally relaxed with people who want Ollie to stay. I don't agree with it. I think you're basically in bed with the Glazers, because he shouldn't even be here. He's only here because the Glazers and Ed Woodward are trying to save their reputation, because they've banked on Ollie being successful and they know nothing about football. I think that's why Ollie's in the job. I can't see any other reason why a manager takes 1 point from 12, gets humiliated by Liverpool at home and stays in a job. There are standards and he dropped way below them. He shouldn't be there. The only reason he is there is because of the incompetence of the owners and the board. So if you're there going, Ollie's at the wheel or I want Ollie in, I'm sorry, I think you're in tune with our owners. And my issue with them is that the standards are just too low. I don't want Ollie as the manager. But you know what? Shouting people out who don't want Ollie as the manager and trying to make out they're not proper United fans and things like that, I just find it hilarious. I think, is that the modern world of football now? You take 1 point from 12, you get humiliated at home by Liverpool, they don't sack him, you beat a poor Spurs side, and suddenly anybody who wants Ollie out is an enemy of the club. I think you're an enemy of the club because I think you are lowering the standards to the level that the Glazers want, and they're going, this is why they'll put all the clips out of the goals and the fans singing and everything like that. They're not stupid. I think the only toxic dividers in Manchester United are the owners. And I think you fall into that trap of being divided. I have got no issue if you want Ollie to do well. I wanted him to do well up until last Sunday. I still want United to win. I just don't believe in him. I don't think he's good enough. And I think I don't think he's going to get sacked if we lose to City either. So, I'm glad you want Ollie in because I think you're going to have a happier time than I'm going to have. Because I don't think he's going anywhere. And I think we're just going to have to put up with the lowering of the standards of this football club for a lot longer yet. But he's not going to win the title. That's a very, very clear thing now. And that was the challenge for the season. So what is this season? It's lowered expectations. And, that for me is why I will remain Ollie out until he holds up a major trophy. And then I'll go, you know what? I was wrong. But until he does that, I ain't coming back from this because I've got standards. And it took me a long time to be Ollie out. And I am Ollie out now for lots of evidenced reasons. I enjoyed the result yesterday. I think put respect on Ollie's name and put respect on Spurs' name. They're not a terrible football side. They weren't very good, but they're still a Premier League side at home. And Ollie is capable of beating Spurs as much as he's capable of beating Man City next week. He is capable of doing that. He has done that. He deserves some respect. I don't think he's totally useless. I just think the standards he sets are way below the standards Manchester United should be. And I can deal with that. And I think everybody needs to deal with that. If you want him to stay, good luck to you. I don't. I think he needed to go last week, and I still think we need to change if we want to get to the standards we want to be. But I think it's going to be very difficult for us to get to the standards we want to be with these owners. So I don't want to get into arguments with any of you about Ollie in or Ollie out. I don't, because ultimately I've made my mind up and you can make your mind up, and I will respect that. What I would like to have a debate about is standards and where we're going from here. And on that, none of us should be falling out because our standards at this football club should always be to be challenging for a title every year and challenging for major trophies. And we've not done that for 8 years. So you can try and spin your negativity for retweets and clicks about, oh, look at these negative United fans, but you're talking out your arse, and you may as well put a Glazer t-shirt on with a big smiley face on it of the Glazers, because all you're doing is falling into their trap of dividing the fan base. They want all the positive fans so they can go, this is what a real fan is, and then they want you to attack anybody else that calls them out. Effectively, it's a dictatorship, and if you can't see it, you need to wake up and have a big pint of Maxwell House coffee, because what they're trying to do is dictate to you what a real fan is so that you will do their work and attack anybody that calls them out, because effectively that's what people are doing. They're calling out the ownership. By saying Ollie's not good enough, by saying this club's standards are dropping, they're calling out the owners, who are the Glazers, which apparently all our fan base don't want. But now, this morning, we beat Spurs, and you've got United fans attacking people who aren't really happy with the situation, saying you're not a proper fan. You're basically the Glazer army, inadvertently, because I know you don't like the Glazers, but that's what they want. That's what they tried to do before the Liverpool game. They're trying to divide the fan base. Am I trying to divide the fan base? Are you trying to divide the fan base if you're Ollie out? I don't care if you're Ollie in. It doesn't matter to me. Make your own mind up. Where were you last week? I'd say that. Where were you last week? Because not many of you were. But if you want to be Ollie in, great. You're probably far less stressed and pissed off than I am. I'm fed up with where United are. I think the standards are on the floor. Even with the result yesterday, even if we beat Man City, I don't see us having a good season. I really hoped we would do that this year, especially with the players that we've got. But I want to talk about that. I want to talk about where we are now, because that result yesterday, where does that leave us now? Does it actually put us in a better position, a worse situation, or are we just treading water? And I want to get into that. I've watched the match back today. The midfield still got bypassed so easily, but they ran into more men once they got through them, says Joshua Bowwater. I can see us losing to Atalanta and then coming back under pressure and beating City in a close game, Nick Stevens. I can see and I said it ahead of the Spurs game, I can see us getting something about Spurs, and my predictions have been way off recently, but I said I could see us getting something against Spurs. I can see us getting something against Atalanta and Man City as well, because I think we'll stick with that system. And that's why I want to talk about where we go from here. And I want to talk about what Gary Neville and Roy Keane said as well, because where we go from here is where we went from losing to Istanbul to the end of season last year. We're going to go on this road of grinding out results and relying on moments. And Gary Neville even said it yesterday. He said that this has happened before. Where United become defensively solid and rely on moments and win games. And I think, and Roy Keane said, he's got to do that. The arrogance to think that United can go toe to toe with teams, they're going to have to sit in. What's wrong with that? Sit in and counter. And Graham Souness said, well, is there not an expectation for Manchester United to be able to play attacking football? And Roy said, well, yeah, but they're not good enough to do that. So they're going to have to sit in and counter. And if that gets results, that gets results. So that, to me, is an acceptance from Roy Keane. Graham Souness said it, Gary Neville, that's what we are. And that, to me, is why the standards are not where they need to be. Because everybody acknowledges that if Ollie's going to win games, he's going to have to sit in and counter. And he's going to have to play not the United way, basically. Which is what he's been doing for 2 years. And at some point, do you not say, well, we've been down this road before. I fully expect that we can grind out results. And I fully expect us to get 4th or 3rd. But we won't get 1st or 2nd. And that's not progression. And then we've used the year of Ronaldo for what? It's hard to think Ollie is a Man United legend. If he was an ex-Liverpool player, we would call this sabotage, says Ricky Kloss. I think Ollie's... Look, let me just say this from the off here. Ollie deserves some respect. I always wanted him to do well, and he will always be a legend of this club. And I've never been comfortable with the abuse. Do I think he's a good coach? No. Do I think he's a terrible coach? No. I think he's capable of beating Man City, and he's done it before. I don't think he's capable of taking Man United where they need to be. And yes, Spurs were terrible yesterday, but they weren't bloody Swindon Town. They're still a Premier League side, and they'll still probably finish mid-table. And also, I thought the way we played yesterday, we did play well. So, I still think you can say you want the manager out and say that we played well yesterday and that, Spurs aren't completely terrible. But if I was to do a tactical breakdown, what I would say about Spurs yesterday, which would have infuriated me, was the amount of times they tried to pass out from the back but can't do it. The amount of times there was a bad, they were passing out from the back and their player would control it badly, and then Fred's on it or McTominay's on it or Bruno's on it. I mean, the second goal came from that. Or they tried to pass it out from the back and they gave us the ball. We won a lot of the ball yesterday against a team that couldn't pass out from the back. And some of their defending, if you look at the Cavani goal, what that Romero's doing, it looks like he's running to have a piss. He's turned his back on Ronaldo. He's running in the wrong direction and Cavani just goes that way and Ronaldo flips him in. So, look, Spurs did not play well, but I still think he'd be good. Vito says, did you see the Scholes video? What was that about? Mate, it's not football related if you're what you're on about. I think it's something like there's some headline that Scholes had a lap dance. Is that not allowed? Like, I would never do it, but like, why? There'll be a video of me coming out now. But what's that got to... Paul Scholes has a lap dance. There's lap dancing clubs in England. Like, I don't get it. I think people are just trying to cause Paul Scholes problems in his private life, and I'm not here for that. So, but let's go. Let's talk about where we are as Manchester United, because I do want. This is the big part of the. I do want to see the. I do want to talk about where we are as a football club, because, and I'll bring in what Roy Keane and Gary Neville said here, because I think, there seems to be this argument in the fan base again, as I said at the start, about if you're not Ollie in, you're against the club. Well, you're an absolute clown if you think that. You're an absolute clown if you think people who want Solskjaer to be replaced are negative against the club, because it can easily be flipped the other way. If you want to stick with Ollie, get a Glazer t-shirt on, because the only reason he's in the job is because the Glazers don't want to sack him because they look incompetent. So, let's not start arguing about who's, what sort of fan you are, if you're Ollie in, if you're Ollie out. I thought the fans at the ground yesterday were fantastic. They sang for David Moyes, they sang for Van Gaal, they sang for Mourinho, so I would expect them to definitely sing for Ollie. I've got no problem with that. They were fantastic. They'll be fantastic on Saturday. They'll be fantastic on Tuesday. So well done to those fans. And whatever they want to think is up to them. And whatever you want to think is up to you. And whatever I want to think is up to me. And, you know, as I keep saying, we dream the same dream, we want the same thing. Some of us are going to be right, some of us are going to be wrong. But at this moment in time, of course, you're going to get differing opinions. Now, what Gary Neville said after the game yesterday was that, you know, effectively, that result is good, but we're not out of the woods yet, and it creates more problems than he probably, well, not as many as he had after Liverpool, because he was going to get the sack, but it's created a lot of problems for him yesterday. And this is, for me, I want to talk about, where do we go from here? Because it feels to me, and look, there's a story coming out today that Solskjaer didn't get Idrissa Gueye from PSG and that's caused the defensive instability. I mean, what a load of shite. Like, if we got Idrissa Gueye, he's not going to drop Scott McTominay. Scott McTominay's his Roy Keane. So he's not going to drop McTominay, and I don't think he's going to drop Fred. So what difference is Idrissa Gueye going to make? I mean, I think Van der Beek would have done Fred's job better yesterday. I think that system suits Van der Beek better than Fred. So Idrissa Gueye, whatever. That would have made no difference. He'd still pick McTominay and Fred. He's picked McTominay and Fred for the last 12 months. That's his midfield. Like, deal with it. Stop putting stories out about, oh, if we'd got a midfielder, we'd be in a better position. He wants to play McTominay and Fred. They both played reasonably well yesterday. But look, he wants to play them. You know, let's get by that. And also, the normal journalists, you know who they are. I'm not even going to bother shouting them out. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction. But you know those journalists this morning talking about, and they're basically in bed with the club. You know, they've probably got the bloody club communications department on speed dial. They're probably all in the same WhatsApp group, talking about how Ollie tactically looked at this game and wanted to go to, and I love the way they're calling it a 3-4-2-1. It was a 5-3-2. That's what it was. It wasn't a 3. I mean, well, actually, if you want to call it a 3-4-2-1, that's fine. I call it a back 5 because I don't believe Ollie would ever play with a back 3. You know, even last year when it was a 4-2-3-1, it was a back 6. And I think at times yesterday it was a back 7. And it was ridiculously hard for Spurs to play through us. And it worked. But ultimately, you know, you've got journalists coming out this morning talking about the tactics and how they've been working on this for ages. I've even heard leaks that this is what Carrick and McKenna have wanted to do for weeks. But even in that in itself causes a problem. There's no way they can spin this tactical story because, as Gary Neville said, why has it taken until the end of October and smashing by Liverpool to start playing like this? Like that, how many points have United lost this season? I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head. But the reality is, there's no win in saying, oh, we've spent all week working on this tactic. The only reason they've had time to work on this is because we were incompetent in the Carabao Cup. We shouldn't be out of the Carabao Cup, and we are, and it's given us a week to do work that no other club would normally get time to do. So, ridiculously lucky, as we know, but look, yeah, well done. We've been working on these tactics all week. We're fortuitous to be in a position to do that, having been knocked out the Carabao Cup. But it's like, it's what I said yesterday. Would you rather have Ollie out now and get Conte, or stick through this season with Ollie to get Ten Hag next season, says Nikolai. Well, I'd get Conte in tonight. Like, because we're playing the Conte way. And I was just about to say that. It's almost as if, I mean, I saw something and it made me laugh. It was like, Ollie should be sacked for a certain manager on Monday. Ollie doesn't get sacked and copies that certain manager's way of playing. And I was in a bit of a debate with somebody last night because they were saying Ollie's always used this formation against big teams. I can't remember the last time we used a back 5. I can't remember the last time we used it. I know we have done it because we did it against Leipzig. I think we've done it against City in the Carabao Cup. Maybe that was this year or the year before. But I mean, can anybody tell me the last time we played a back 5? So how will Ollie resolve all of this player unrest? We're going to talk about that, Salah Ahmed. But I don't remember the last time we played like this. And yet I had somebody saying to me, Ollie always plays like this in the big games. Come on. I bet he hasn't played this. If he's played this formation more than 5 times in the last 2 years, I'll be stunned. We don't play this very often. PSG, but ages ago. We don't play this system very often at all. Let's be honest. We don't play this system, and it's not the system Ollie has told us it's all about. So, to me, I thought we played well. I thought the players played well. I think Ollie got it right. I think the coaches got it right. And I don't think Spurs are as bad as people think. And I think Ollie does deserve some respect because he's won 3-0 away from home in front of fans. It's not, it's not an empty stadium like last year. So I'm never going to sit here and go, oh, you know what, we've won 3-0, but it was shit. It wasn't. The players played well. You'd expect that. I expected the players to play like that. I couldn't guarantee they would. But bloody hell, no matter who the manager is, there's got to be a pride in the shirts. You've got to respond to that, pile of steaming crap against Liverpool. So, fair play to the players. They did bounce back, and we know that we're capable of that. And we know Ollie's capable of that. But I think the really interesting thing is where we go from here. And I am massively confused. Fair play, as I say. The game was basically a polished turd, says Clint. I think United should have beaten Liverpool. We were the better team, says Tom. Okay. Fair play to those people who wake up this morning and go, you know what? I've been Ollie out all week, but now I'm Ollie in. Fair play to that. What a way to live. You can literally change your opinion like the weather. Great. Well done. If that's the way you are, I've got no issue with it. It's your opinion, and I respect that. I wake up this morning and I knew I'd still want the manager out, even if we'd won 10-0. I still would have done that, because I think that this team is, and the reason I put praise on the team and the manager is because I know they're capable of doing this. I've seen this for 3 years. We're more than capable of winning those games. We're more than capable of beating Man City next week. But we're not capable of winning the league with this coaching setup. We're not. And that's the standards I'm talking about. But what I am in this situation is that all week we've heard that, we've heard it from ex-players, we've heard it from the media, we've heard it leaked from the club. They're not sure about Conte because he's not a long-term coach, and his style of football doesn't necessarily suit with United's youth development and long-term plan. And then on Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, we see the man that they are, basically sticking by, playing short-term, no youth football. And I thought, so where are we as a football club now? Because do you take that Spurs result and that's how we're going to play now? Or is that Spurs result literally about just trying to get a result to keep Ollie in a job, and we're going to go back to the 4-2-3-1? And we're in that area now where we just don't know what we're going to be. And I go back to what I said before. With Liverpool, he can change the centre-backs, he can change the midfield. He can sometimes play Jota and Firmino gets benched. But it's the Liverpool. I'm just going to wait for it to come back. It's coming. Tell me when we're back. Sometimes it just drops in and out. It's all right. We're back. Okay, so what I'm almost out of ideas on here is I don't know what we are anymore, and I blame the board for this because I know what the board want. The board are a bit like your FIFA objectives. They want a certain profit line, they want a certain dividend to the club owners, and they want to be in the Champions League. That's it. Man United's objectives are profits, dividends, top four. That's it. And if you tick those, you'll stay in a job. And if Ollie gets fourth, I was talking to Alex last night on the group chat, if Ollie gets fourth place, he will stay in a job. It's as simple as that. So I would say to people this morning, and I'd love to hear from people who are excited and confident and want Ollie to stay this morning. And Ramesh says, if we play 3-5-2, we have to get Conte. Our recruitment has been geared towards a 4-3-3, signing like Sancho. Squad is unbalanced for a 3-5-2, says Ramnish. And it's clear the board want Ollie long term. Is it a bad thing that Ollie adapts his 5-3-2 from game to game, says Michael Nichols. Well, Mark, do you agree with Gary Neville and Roy Keane basically saying that United should only be a counter-attacking team, says Bradley Clay? Well, there's two questions in one there. Fantastic two questions. No, I don't think we should be a counter-attacking team, but I think Roy Keane's right. If we're sticking with Ollie, he may as well just be a counter-attacking coach because that's all he can do. Ollie's success beating Man City's and Chelsea's has always been letting them have the ball and counter-attacking. Spurs' possession yesterday was bigger than ours. United under Ollie are a counter-attacking team. This is like the way West Ham play against the big teams. But we're Manchester United. We've got all the funds in the world, but we can only play counter-attacking football. And I think that's a shame, but I think Roy Keane is right about that. As for what Michael said about is it a bad thing that Ollie adapts his style 5-3-2 to 4-2-3-1 from game to game? I think it is a bad thing, Michael, because what are we? I've said this before. I said it a couple of weeks ago before I was even Ollie out. I said, Ollie is a reactive coach. He goes into every game and looks at the opposition. Sir Alex never did that, really. Klopp doesn't do it. Pep doesn't do it. The big managers don't go into games like Spurs and Norwich and go, how do they play? Let's set up to make it difficult for them and hit them on the break. It's cowardly football if you're doing it every week. Sir Alex did used to do it away in Europe a lot because he was like, you win your home games, you draw away from home. But we're doing it every game because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a reactive coach. Now, if you want United to sit in, like Roy Keane says, and counter-attack, then you're going to be very happy. But do you want to go game to game not knowing what formation we play? Because basically we might play a back five, we might play a back four, but we're going to sit in and hit on the break all the time. It's an interesting one, and that's what I would say. Good managers believe with their philosophy, tactics, and management now how to prove players to play as a team, says Minnie. Hi, Mark, I hope you're well. Do you think we should play Ronaldo, Cavani and Donny in the starting side? I like that combination, says Corey. I don't think Donny van der Beek has a future at Manchester United at all. I think it's very clear. 75 and 35 million on the bench. Ollie is great, but for nearly benching these players for McFred, I do not see Sancho playing anywhere with this formation, says the Tripper. Well, I want to talk about that because, I genuinely don't know what the plan is for United now, and I don't actually know what you want. I see people this morning saying, oh, stop being so negative. We've won a game. Let's get behind the players and get behind the manager. But that's short-termism. Give me more. All I want is to know what your standards are. Because you won't expose those standards, will you? Because that's where some of us will become right and you will become naive. It's all right saying get behind the team, get behind the manager. We've won a game against Spurs. I said before the game I wanted to win. I said I was happy with the win. I thought we played well. But my issue is, what does it mean? What is the future? And for everybody who's this morning going, oh, you're negative if you want Ollie out, what is it you want? Because I'm not hearing what people want. And I don't know what we are under Ollie. I think the best we are is third or fourth and no major trophy. And I can predict the future until May and the season after and the season after. Is that good enough for a Manchester United manager? Is that good enough for a Manchester United manager that's got Rafael Varane, Jadon Sancho, Cristiano Ronaldo, Cavani, Bruno, third or fourth and no major trophy? Because that's where we're heading under Ollie. Is that what you, Ollie backers, are waking up to this morning with a smile on your face? Because every fan's got to be looking at something I said yesterday. When Arsenal won yesterday, they're thinking about fourth. They're like, yes, this can be a big season. When Burnley beat Brentford, they're like, yes, we can get out of this relegation battle. When Leicester lose yesterday, they're like, oh, we're not getting fourth now then. This season's going to be about if we can get top six again. Every win, every loss leaves you beyond the short-term result and leads you into a bigger picture. What are we? And that's what I'm saying. What are we now at Manchester United? Because I don't see Ollie getting sacked. So we're being dictated to by the board that fourth is good enough. We're not catching Chelsea. 8 points. We're not going to do it. How do you catch a Chelsea when you don't have a distinctive attacking style of play? If you're a reactive club, every game is a possible win, but it's a possible draw, possible loss. Reactive teams are always reliant on what the opposition does. If we'd played Spurs yesterday and Nuno had said, we're at home, I'm going to bore the shit out of the home fans and park the bus, that's a 0-0 game. They tried, they weren't good enough to play through us and we counter-attacked. They played into our hands. Leeds will play into our hands because Bielsa has his style of play. But what about the teams that go, well, actually, we're not going to play into Man United's hands. We're going to play a low block as well, and we drop points. We won't be catching Chelsea over the rest of the season. So what are we is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being happy and confident and backing the manager. That is your right. But what are we, and what are we from here? I think the substitutions yesterday were too defensive. I lighted a lot of pressure and against the team could well be punished for that, says Liam. Yeah, but the game was won, Liam. Glad the players didn't down tools, but it was so bittersweet. A dreadful Spurs performance helped. We still need change, says Joe Palmer. Mostly counter-attacking teams don't win leagues these days. You might win a league if the attacking teams are in transition in a given year, says Sumjit. I don't think counter-attacking teams win anything these days. I'd love to be proven wrong. But do you want, ultimately, if we win a title or we win a Champions League with Ollie counter-attacking, what's different to Mourinho? Oh, Ollie used to play for the club. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Even for the counter-attacking, I'll give credit to Mourinho because that was his style. Ollie did nothing. Funny, says Talal. What I wanted to talk about is that, and I think Gary Neville and Roy Keane were touching on this last night, is I think one of the big problems Ollie faces is that he's become a short-term manager. And going on the game yesterday, he's become a short-term manager in a system that not a lot of United fans like. We like winning. I don't like the back five. There are tweets where I said I don't want Conte. There are videos where I said I don't want Conte. Up until Tuesday, I didn't want Conte. And then on Tuesday, I was like, well, just get Conte because we need a winner. So I do want Conte now, but that's desperation. I'll put my hands up. I'll say, I don't really want us to play a 5-3-2. And I certainly don't want Ollie to play a 5-3-2. I think we've basically become Southgate under England, where he's got loads of attacking players, but he's lost an attacking player to play another defender. We are basically, I've never felt that Ollie and Southgate are similar, but right here, right now, the similarities are getting closer and closer. And just one other similarity as well. The season Mourinho got sacked, he had exactly the same points as Ollie's got now. So, it's worth bearing in mind the similarities between Mourinho's final season and Ollie's and the pressure they're both under. But we are doing what Southgate does. Southgate's not a very good coach, but he keeps his job because he does this back five, doesn't concede many goals, 2 holding midfielders, and relies on moments of individualism up front. And we got the way to a final. We nearly won the Euros. So Ollie has become Southgate, where he's got a system I don't like to try and basically hide his tactical deficiencies by being very defensive and using quality players to score moment goals. But the interesting thing about this is that we've had 2.5 years of Solskjaer telling us about future plans, United Way, youth development, and you look at that performance yesterday, and I look at it and I go, well, all right, Scott McTominay, but there's no other youth player on that pitch. Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Lindelof, Maguire, Luke Shaw, David De Gea, they're all bought. McTominay's a youth player. Fred, bought. And Cavani, Bruno and Ronaldo bought. And also, quite an old team. I think the youngest player in that team is Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka, I think. Most of that team are 25 plus. So, we've gone from a team where Ollie was constantly telling us about the average age of the team, and we've become a team that's not really about youth development anymore, not about the United Way with wingers anymore. We've become a back five, and I'm only talking about one game, and we might not do it against Atalanta and Man City, but I think it'd be stupid not to do it against Atalanta and Man City, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I said it yesterday, to save his job, he's thrown his plans into the bin and come back as something else. And it's like he's an interim manager again. It's like I know it's not that, but it's like the guy that was our manager in that Liverpool game at full time has sacked himself and reinvented himself as something else. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it feels like that. It feels like that game yesterday was like completely different to what we've seen this. Well, it was different. We've not played that way this season. And the title was Ronaldo rescues Defiant Solskjaer. That system yesterday was to get the best out of Ronaldo, because Ronaldo up front on his own is isolated and will not do the defensive from the front work that Ollie has to have. So you bring Cavani in next to him to do that pressing work, and Ronaldo, doesn't get a free role but gets more support, and then you get a back five to stop teams playing through us so easily. There's no pace in that team. I was watching Match of the Day last night and they were talking about United's pace. There's no pace in that team, that starting 11 at all. I don't think that team's going to work. I really don't. But I think it's capable of grinding out results. But I am confused as to what we're going to do. And the second part to that, let me read this super chat. Avishek says, Ollie as a manager is a godsend for Glazers. If we never drop out top 4, he won't ever go and we win. We could very much become like Arsenal under Wenger, where this goes on for years and years and years, and we keep getting top 4 because the quality of players that we've got are good enough, and but we never go to, the standards just drop. And you are right, you're dictated to by the owners. We are in the hands of the owners. Fans want to argue with each other, but ultimately the people, the string pullers of this are the Glazers. They're making the arguments between everybody, because everybody's arguing about what's best for Manchester United, and ultimately the Glazers are the problem. Mark, don't you think Jose Gunnar Solskjaer is winning because of randomness? Because even other managers don't know who plays CDM or CM. When it comes to McFred, there is some sort of randomness which is able to beat the tactics. Yeah, I felt it would have been difficult. I think that's a great point by Ditcher. I think it would have been difficult for Spurs yesterday to know what United were going to do. I don't think they would have expected us to do that. And I think, Pep will expect that. Welcome to Dimas and Danny O'Keefe, latest members of the United Stand Members Club. But look, if you liked that yesterday, And I liked the win, and I thought the way we set up was interesting. I think it was a bit boring. I don't think it's going to be very entertaining to watch that system. I really don't. Was that an entertaining game for you yesterday? Because it wasn't for me. It was a boring game. And I thought Spurs were terrible, and I thought we were very good on the goals that we scored. But it was very counter-attacking, and I thought it was very boring to watch. And I think that system is going to be boring to watch. I think Conte can play that system, and Tuchel can play that system and make it very entertaining and very attacking. But the way Ollie does it, he's a counter-attacking manager. So I thought it was quite pragmatic. Would be a nice word. But of course, the biggest problem is, and there was a brilliant picture which I commented on Twitter. You've got Lingard coming on as the third sub, who won't sign a new contract, and then you've got Sancho and Van der Beek sat in the background, not even used. £74 million in the summer, £35 million the summer before that, and a left back he spent 15 million on, who's probably one of the best left wing backs in Europe before we bought him, not even on the bench. And I think this is a problem. And Gary Neville sort of alluded to it as well. What is that all about? And what I've heard nobody speak about here is honestly worried for our club's name going forward. Big players will be reluctant to join in the future. I don't think they will, Pranay. People will always join Manchester United because of the wages we pay and the size of the club. Maybe go 3-4-3, Bruno and Scott Matic in the midfield, Rash, Ronnie and Sancho front three, says Johan. Maybe he will change the system again. Maybe he won't. But ultimately, if he sticks with that system yesterday, you've got Tellez and Martial basically leaking out they're not very happy on socials. You've got Van der Beek who's not happy. You've got Pogba who's not happy. You've got Eric Bailly who's not happy. You've got Cavani who's going to go in the summer. You've got Ronaldo who, look, if the season doesn't go the way it should go, he did it to Juventus, he could do it to us. And then you've got Jadon Sancho as well. And Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood. There's 10 players there, all of which are very good players, who you'd worry what's going to happen with them. Because if we play a 5-3-2, where does... Well, Donny's never going to get in. Where does Pogba get into that team when he comes back? Where does Greenwood get in? Where does Rashford get in? Martial, I don't even know if I mentioned Martial. I think I did. Sancho. Like, that performance yesterday, and I'll keep saying it, Ollie did well, the coaches did well, and the players did well. Anybody who says we didn't do well yesterday is a liar. It worked. How good Spurs were, I don't think they're as bad as people think. They were bad, but I don't think they're as bad as people think, and I think we did play well. But how is that going to work? You've lost an attacker to bring in an extra defender, and we already had too many attackers anyway. When we talk about the front three, we could name 9 players. We're now playing a front two, and we've got 9 players. Like, Martial's finished; he can't even get on the bench. So, I think that Ollie's got a massive. We do need a change, and we also need a change because that squad is disintegrating. And interestingly, what Ollie did yesterday, and I actually would applaud him for this, is that he did stick with the players he trusts and his favourites. The Luke Shaws, the Harry Maguires, the Scott McTominays, the Brunos, the Freds, the Wan-Bissakas. He stuck with those players when he could have made changes. And he stuck with those players because, and the hint was Everton when he lost to Istanbul a year ago, he goes with the players that he knows will play for him and he trusts. I mean, look at McTominay and Ollie at the end. They were hugging and they could have started dancing to the lady in red. They were absolutely ecstatic with each other. And I've got no problem with that. McTominay plays for the manager. Ollie loves McTominay. They love Manchester United. And Ollie picked the players that play for him yesterday. But the problem is, and I think we're going to see this over the next few weeks, and we saw it last season as well, he can't change that. And I don't think he will change that. I think we're going to see that same set of players again and again and again and again. And maybe it'll work for the next 2 months, but when we hit January, February, March, those players are going to get fatigued again. And we're going to pick up injuries again. And then he's going to have to rely on Pogba, Van der Beek, Matic, Lingard, Rashford, Greenwood. And are they going to be in the right frame of mind? And I think that system is set up for Ronaldo. Ronaldo in that system is going to score a lot of goals. But in a 5-3-2, where's Sancho? Where's Greenwood? Where's Rashford? And obviously, where's Pogba in that system as well? So there's a lot of questions to be answered about what's going to happen with United. And look, the Rashford substitution was spot on. I would have brought Rashford on. I think I think against Man City we're going to have to play Rashford, and I think we'll play Rashford against Atalanta as well, because he took Ronaldo off early, and I don't think Cavani will play against Atalanta. So I think it will be Rashford and Ronaldo against Atalanta, and I think it might work because the pace of Rashford for the long ball is going to be important. We are set up as a football team now. If anybody's confused, I'm confused about what our standards are, about what our aspirations are, but I think Ollie's probably waking up this morning with a big smile because he'll see that there's positivity around the club. He'll see that he's got some backing in the fan base, and he'll be like, you know what? It's like Christmas. On Monday, I was getting slated for bad tactics. I tried to play more attacking with the press. It didn't work. I'm not good enough. On Sunday, I'm playing part of the bus counter-attacking football, which is what I can do. Doesn't take much. And people are celebrating it. This is it for the next few weeks. Part the bus, counter-attack, sit-in, whatever you want to call it. Roy Keane calls it sitting in and counter-attacking. I call it parking the bus and counter-attacking. Whatever it is, that's what we are now. That's what you've got. This is what we are now. Manchester United back to being what we were last year, a counter-attacking, hard-to-score against team who hits long balls or relies on moments or mistakes from the opposition. So I think that's what we've got to come. And I don't think the Glazers are going to sack him even if we lose to Man City. And the reason I think that, and the reason I'm putting it towards the end of the video, is the story is that United still have not made any contact with any manager about coming in and replacing Solskjaer. Which in itself is disgusting. Not because Ollie should be sacked now, but because every club should have a contingency plan. Because what if he did get beat 7-0 by Man City? I don't think we will, by the way, but what if we did? You've got to have a manager to come in, and United are not making those conversations. So, that's got to be on the board, hasn't it? But the way you feel like now is how I felt for 3 years. I feel like I've lost my club. Winning mentality has been replaced with mediocrity, says Tabrez. I'll never stop supporting this football club, and I'll never stop wanting it to win. Manchester United is bigger than the Glazers, it's bigger than Ollie, it's bigger than the players, and, if you're a proper United fan, you're never going to turn your back on the club. I do feel disillusioned because I just don't know what we are. I feel like Arsenal know what they want. They want to fight for. I think fifth place for Arsenal is a good season, but they see a chance of getting fourth. And to be honest with you, they've got a system and they're not playing in Europe, so they'll be very fresh every week. So Arsenal know what they're looking at. Yes, they won yesterday, but they're not just celebrating that. They're looking forward. I feel as United fans, we're celebrating the win yesterday, but what is the future? I don't know what the future is, and how can I think the Glazers and Woodward are going to suffer from this, because if you've got a fan base that doesn't know what the future is, they start to drift. You're in limbo. You're like, well, what are we then? It's all right saying, well, I'm looking forward to the game against Atalanta. I'm looking forward to the game against Man City. Who are we playing after the international break? I think it's Watford and then Chelsea, but I can't look further than Tuesday. And we've become a club that's now just playing game to game. But we're Manchester United. We should have season goals. We should have objectives. We should have a vision. There should be some excitement around it. And I don't know what we are. I know what we were a month ago at the last international break. It was like, let's take 10 points from the next 12. And we've taken 3 from 9 so far. And let's get back into a title race. We're not in a title race now. Is this season now about trying to get fourth? In which case, that's not good enough, is it? But it's this confusion that, to be fair, I understand why some people are being positive and going, this can be the kickstart to our season. We can get back into a title race. I think that's delusion, but you might think that. There'll be other people saying that's just a blip. We're going to lose again very soon and we're going to struggle to get in the top 4. I can see that as well. But how can a club be so one extreme to the other? How can some fans think we might get back in a title race and some fans think we won't even get top 4? And that comes back to the club, not Ollie. That comes back to the board. There's no communication from the board. I've been saying this all week. There's been no communication from the board. The fan forum, they were speaking about Super League mainly, but they were talking about communication with the fans. There's been no communication from the board this week. If this was Bayern Munich or it was Dortmund, the structures they have at those clubs, their CEOs, their sporting directors are constantly doing interviews about players, contracts, the state of the club, managers. There is no communication from this club. We rely on journalists who sometimes get info and sometimes don't. There's no journalist in the world who has got direct info from Man United that's 100% correct every single time. There are good journalists out there, but they don't get everything right. You know, Romano did a video on Monday about United sacking Solskjaer. So he obviously had info that might happen. Now, I've got no issue with him having a pre-recorded video. That's what people do. People pre-write articles to be first. But what I'm saying is nobody's got the direct 100% information from Manchester United all the time. But we rely on that. We rely on it from journalists because the club are so bad at communicating. What is the club's ambition for the football club now? That's what we need to know, because right here, right now, the fans are confused. They're confused. What are we? At the start of the season, Ollie said the aim is to be in a title race in late April, May. Is that still what we're trying to do? Because that might still be the goal. In which case, we're failing miserably at the moment. And we're going to have to do something spectacular for that to happen. Is it now a race for fourth place? What is it? And I think that is something we need to get from the football club or from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the next 7 days, because I don't think they'll sack him if we lose to City, and people will think he will get sacked if we lose to City, and then we're going to be back in this position that we've been in for the last week. The club need to communicate better. They need to communicate what the objectives of the football club are, because at the moment people are lost. Do you think that going out of the Champions League in the group stages would be enough for the club to sack Ole, says Bradley? I don't think there is a plan to sack Ole. I said straight after the results. Sorry, I said Wednesday. When they hadn't sacked Ollie by Wednesday, I was like, we're not talking to anybody. They've just allowed a manager to get hammered at home by Liverpool and take 1 point from 12. If they're allowing him to get past that, there's no result that they're not going to allow him to get past. They're going to let this story keep unfolding. And I believe that we will have bounce back results for a few weeks, and then we'll have a bad result, and then we'll bounce back again, and ultimately we're going to finish in 4th or 3rd again. And then they'll keep him next season as well, because all they want is top 4. And this is why I keep saying, not interested in Ollie out or Ollie in. I'm interested in standards. Is 4th place or top 4 what Manchester United should be about? No. We should be fighting for titles. But when the board are dictating that 4th place is good enough, how can you ever expect the players or the manager to deliver anything better when the people at the top are like 4th is fine? 4th is fine. Hi, Mark. What if we beat both Atalanta and City 6-0, says Ryan? I'll still be Ollie out, mate. Like, I don't... I don't even... Look, I'm just going to talk about standards from now on, because I had this for months with Ollie. When I was backing Ollie, people were like, what if this? What if that? What will make you Ollie out? And now I am saying we need to change the manager. People are like going the other way. What's it take for you to be Ollie in? I'll tell you what it takes for me to be Ollie in. It's a huge decision to say that you don't want a manager at the club anymore, especially when it's a legend like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I've said that now, and I stand by it. To come back from that, he's got to hold the Premier League trophy up in May. If he holds the Premier League trophy up in May, I will say he is the manager for Manchester United, and I won't ever doubt him again. If he doesn't win a title and he just gets 3rd or 4th, I still think we've got to change, because I think we've been down this road before. And look, what overarches that, can I just say, what overarches that above everything is that what is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a manager? Kino said it last night. Gary Neville's hinted at it. We've all said it as well. He is a reactive manager who thrives on counter-attacking teams. He basically goes into games and says to the opposition, you try and play football, and when you make a mistake, we're going to hit you on the break. Is that Manchester United? Sir Alex did it in big games every now and again, but ultimately, we're a risk-taking, attacking side in football that plays with width. And we have been for longer than I've been here. According to my granddad, we were playing it in the 50s. So, you know, we're not playing with wingers. We're not playing attacking football. And we're playing counter-attacking football. We've had this for 2.5 years now. I want to see a change. And if we are going to play like that, maybe get somebody who does it better. And that is why I would take Conte, because he's better at what Ollie's trying to do. So for me, we're back where Mourinho was. I knew Mourinho's style of football wasn't easy on the eye, but if he delivered a Premier League trophy, I would have said we need that more than we need the football. If Ollie can hold up a Premier League trophy playing this style of football, I will say, well, look, it's not the football I like, but well done. I don't think he can do that. So I think what will happen is we'll get the football we don't want and finish 3rd or 4th. Well, look, Graham Potter could probably get his 3rd or 4th playing good football. But I don't want 3rd or 4th. I want 1st. Mark, do you think that going out of the Champions... Look, I don't think we'll go out of the Champions League stage. Ollie out, Phil Jones in, says Oscar. Well, Phil Jones has got more chance of starting for United than Sancho has at the moment because we're playing with 3 centre-backs. It only takes a couple of injuries and Phil Jones is starting. Whereas Sancho, there's not even a position for him. Horrible to think. I think we'll be fine in the Champions League group, but just let me say this. We've got 6 points. Atalanta and Villarreal have got 4. If we lose to Atalanta, they'll get 7. Then they'll get 10 by beating Young Boys. If we lose to Villarreal, they'll have 7 from beating Young Boys, and then they'll have 10, and we'll be on 6, and we'll be out. We've got to at least get draws against Atalanta and Villarreal. If we lose both, we're going out. I think from yesterday, you can see we're more than good enough to get a point. If we play like that's why I think we'll play like that against Atalanta, Villarreal, Chelsea, Man City. We're going to see that back 5. I would say for at least 70% of our games between now and the end of November. I think we'll play against Arsenal, Chelsea, Villarreal, Atalanta, Man City. I don't think we'll play it against Watford, and I don't think we'll play it against Palace, but I think Palace is actually December. But look, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Loads to get into it. And what I would say is, look, not falling out with United fans about this. If you are Ollie in and you're happy, thank you. Well done. I respect it. I don't agree with you. Where were you last week? But I don't agree with you, but I respect it. Respect those fans who've made the difficult decision that they don't want a legend of this football club to be our manager anymore because his tactics are too counter-attacking, negative and confusing. I don't know what his plan is. He's spending money on players that don't fit into the system anymore. I want to change. But remember, if you don't want to change or you do want to change, it should always be about standards. And the standards are here because of the people who own the club. So falling out with each other is what they want, because when you fall out with each other, you're not talking about them. They want you to fall out with each other. The only people dividing the fan base is the owners, because they've lowered the standards to a level that is not where Manchester United should be. Have a great day. Take care. We've got the Sunday night show coming up tonight. I'm sure it'll be a good one, and I'll speak to you all in a bit. Take care.